Alright, so the video is coming a bit later because it's spring, meaning that there are guys outside my apartment with the leaf blowers and the weed whackers, and it's very, very loud. I had to wait till these guys were kind of done their business before recording because if I didn't, the entire audio commentary would have a bzzz in the background, and that's not really something that I think is preferred. But either way, today we're talking about the Vancouver Canucks and Connor Bedard once more. And this will be the final video we ever make about this guy. This will be the final time we use the thumbnail jersey swap with him in a Canucks uniform. Because it's not going to happen. He's going to Chicago, we all know this, it's a foregone conclusion. However, with yesterday's draft lottery coming and going, there still are a few sort of final conversations we could have regarding the Vancouver Canucks and this entire 2023 draft story. Starting out, firstly, with that first overall pick. You see, it's a tale as old as time when you talk about the Vancouver Canucks getting screwed over by the draft lottery and the hockey gods. And sure, this time around they only had a 3% chance at winning, so it's not really all too likely they would have had the chance to do much anyway, but when you take a look at what actually transpired to give Chicago that first overall pick, the results might blow your mind when you acknowledge how close Vancouver was to getting things done. You see, if you want to know how the draft lottery is actually done, they essentially pull 4 ping pong balls out of a tank. Each ping pong ball in the tank is numbered 1 to 14. They pull out 4 of them in a row, and whichever team corresponds with the number that they end up getting is the winner of the draft lottery. The PDF is on the NHL's website. There are 1,000 combinations of numbers drawn out by the lottery balls, and you could see that based off of this list, some of these combinations are assigned to some teams, other combinations are assigned to other teams, which kind of gives you the weighted percentage of what the Tankathon thing actually says. Because, you know, if you wanted to get true 25% for Anaheim, 3% Vancouver, 8% Montreal kind of odds, just having all the lottery balls with like a team's name printed on it is not going to give you that mathematical edge. So they do it like this. It's pretty complicated, but at the end of the day, the winning combination to get Connor Bedard was 4, 5, 9, 13, which is a combination belonging to the Chicago Blackhawks. What's funny is that if you take a look at the teams that were around this pick, arrangement number 696 on the PDF file here, turns out that final lottery ball, the 13, was literally 1 pick away from being 12, which would have given Vancouver Connor Bedard instead. You could see this right here. 4, 5, 9, 11 would have had the Montreal Canadiens win. 4, 5, 9, 12 would have given the Canucks Connor Bedard. 4 and 5, 9, 13 is what ended up happening. Chicago took Bedard. 4, 5, 9, 14 would have been Columbus, and then 4, 5, 10, 11 would have been also Columbus. So the Vancouver Canucks were literally 1 ball away from winning Connor Bedard. And I know you could say, okay, well, you could say that about all the other teams. I mean, what about the combination of 3, 5, 9, 13? What if all the other balls were the same, but then the first one was different? It's a little pointless to just talk about the individual numbers being so close, but it is kind of frightening to see that the Canucks were, at some point in time, 1 ball away. And if you count up all the combinations, 4, 5, 9, whatever, I mean, if you assume numbers 1 to 14 for each of the lottery balls, the Canucks had a 1 in 14 chance of getting Bedard at the end, which would have been, what, 7%? A lot bigger than it was earlier on? Actually, if you just look at the chart right here, I mean 4, 5, 9, there are only, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 combinations that started out with 4, 5, 9. And the numbers following after were 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So Vancouver, technically, up until the very end, was still in it, alongside of Montreal and Columbus. So, I mean, that's tough. It sucks because the same thing actually happened, I believe in 2016 with Austin Matthews. The Canucks were 1 ball away from being able to get them too. And now you have the Vancouver Canucks sitting at their 94% odds at getting 11th overall, drafting 11th overall, and they're going to get themselves a guy that will hopefully slip. I mean, there are some good talents in this year's draft. There are some right-handed defensemen like David Reinbach or Axel Sandin Pellikka. Everybody's talking about him. And if there's somebody at the top of the draft that ends up slipping, then the Canucks might be able to get themselves a good pickup. But either way, what I also wanted to do was go over just what this pick means and some of the other conversations that have started up afterwards too. This is what Patrick Allvin said about the situation after the draft lottery. He mentioned, according to Satyr Shah, potentially trading up. Moving up from the 3rd round with their extra picks to the 2nd round is more likely than using those picks to move up from 11th overall, though. And so, with this idea in mind, you may have to open up the possibility of Vancouver making a few trades to get their higher draft picks in there. Maybe it means going from the 3rd round to the 2nd round. Maybe it means actually moving up from 11th to something higher. But either way, Patrick Allvin doesn't like getting draft picks for the sake of getting draft picks. So we'll wait and see until draft day to see if anything actually does happen. Although, based off of the Vancouver Canucks and their track record, I mean, when was the last time this team actually moved up in the draft with their first round pick? I don't think it's happened in a long freaking time. I mean, even go back to 2011, you got Nick Jensen, then you got Brendan Gaunce 2012, Bo Horvat 2013, you had 2 first-round picks there, Hunter Shinkaruk. Hunter Shinkaruk was the Canucks' own first-round pick in 2013, Bo Horvat was from the Corey Schneider trade. 2014, you got 2 firsts, 1 for Virtanen from Vancouver and 1 for the Anaheim Ducks Kessler trade, which ended up being Jared McCann. Yeah, that guy's pretty good. Canucks probably could have used a guy like him on their team, go figure. 2015, they had 1 pick, Brock Besser, no trading up there. 2016, Olli Juolevi, they finished poorly and they drafted the wrong guy. 17, PD, 18 Hughes, 19 Podkolzin, and then you have yourselves 2020 and 2021. They didn't have their first round picks because they traded them away for JT Miller, and then who did they trade their 2021 pick to? Arizona, right, the Oliver Ekman-Larsson trade. Amazing, amazing. So, 2022, first time the Canucks actually used their pick in 2 years in the first, but it's been even longer than that since they've actually traded up. And I know it's a new regime, it's not the same folks in charge, whatever, but the idea of Vancouver actually trading up in the first round, I'll believe it when I see it. It's not going to happen. It's just so out of the ordinary with this organization. But furthermore to this idea of the Canucks getting themselves a higher draft pick, you had yourselves, I think it was Thomas Drance earlier today on Sportsnet Radio, talking about how the outcome of this draft lottery doesn't change the analysis on how you view the end of the Canucks season. When they started winning a whole bunch of games, when they didn't trade everybody, they had a chance to trade Miller, they had a chance to get 2 firsts for Miller. Like, come on, dude, that's a crazy good return. They didn't trade Besser, they didn't trade Garland, they kept all the money, they still need to move. And as a result, they won a bunch of games down the stretch. Sure, the Vancouver Canucks finished in the position in the draft lottery where they were projected to finishing, but that doesn't change the idea that if they just played worse, if they just had worse results on paper, they would have had a better draft pick, they would have had a better player in this draft, and nobody would be clowning on Allvin this entire time after the draft lottery is over, saying, hey, I can't wait for Allvin to trade the pick away. Like, okay, that last part doesn't really matter too much. I mean, who cares what people on social media say about hockey teams, myself included, right? But at the end of the day, this evaluation of what the team went through cannot be changed based off of the results of the draft lottery. And I kind of said at the same time during yesterday's stream, it would have been sort of a good thing and a bad thing if the Canucks won Bedard. A good thing because, of course, the Canucks would have gotten Bedard. They were literally 1 lottery ball away from doing it, and based off of the selection of 4, 5, 9 combinations, it appears there might have only been 5 available selections for that, so that's kind of funny. But also, if Vancouver won Connor Bedard, it would have given Aquilini the excuse and the right to say, hey, look at this, the way we're running our team is working, because we're winning games, we have all these good players, and we just got Bedard, now we can go out there and contend. It would have been the ultimate, yeah, screw y'all, I was right the entire time moment, even though, of course, it would have been up to chance, and it would have been only 3% as likely to actually happen. So even though the Canucks ended up getting themselves the 11th overall pick, it's not surprising, but at the same time, it definitely still is frustrating to see that they were so close at the very end. So thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. I guess we can talk a little bit later as to who the Canucks could actually draft, because now that it's 11th overall, we do have options to go over. But again, if you want to let me know in the comments all your opinions, who do you think the Canucks should draft? Who would you prefer the most at that spot? If they're available, then by all means, comment section is your floor. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.